At the school's training ground, Blade was practicing with two other students. But he was looking at Ernest, dodging their attacks without looking at them. Ernest scolds him for not taking the fight seriously and tells him to focus. Blade ignores her words and compliments her appearance. Ernest asks what's different about her, but Blade can't pinpoint it. This makes Ernest feel sad. She asks him to take care of Sophie. Blade wonders why Sophie trains alone, and she explains that she always follows others' orders and never makes decisions for herself. However, she entrusted Blade with her name and Ernest wants him to look after her. Blade tells Sophie that Ernest asked him to help with her training. Sophie questions if he's giving her orders, but Blade clarifies that he wants to assist her as a friend and won't force her to learn if she doesn't want to. Eventually, Sophie agrees to train with Blade. Blade begins training Sophie, and she tries attacking the enchanted metal armor with a sword, but can't cut through it. Blade explains that she needs to channel her fighting spirit into the sword, treating it as an extension of her hand and channeling energy to cut through the armor effectively. With practice, Sophie improves and can slice through the armor easily, creating a pile of cut pieces. Blade compliments her for being a fast learner. Sophie asks if she can now defeat Ernest. Blade responds that he can't say for sure, but reaching Ernest's level won't be easy. Unexpectedly, Sophie throws a sword at Blade, knocking him down, and then sits on top of him. Blade is unsure of the situation but doesn't mind her actions. He informs Sophie that he can't move, and she replies that if he could move freely, her mounting position wouldn't be effective. Blade supports her point, understanding the significance of maintaining a good position in combat. Blade meets King, who inquires about his school life. Blade shares that he has made some friends, and King expresses happiness upon hearing that. King remarks that Blade has been a great hero, protecting people since the age of 3, and hasn't considered anyone as his friend. This makes Blade a little angry. King asks about Blade's friend, and Blade mentions a girl named Sophie. Hearing her name, King says he knew Blade would be interested in Sophie since she is a strong girl. Blade agrees with King's observation. King reveals that Sophie's creation was part of the Artificial Hero Project, aimed at duplicating the powers of a great hero like Blade using ancient forbidden magic. They experimented by channeling these powers into a human body. Sophie, whose real name is Sophie Femto, is the 12th copy of that human body, and she endured tests for many years as an experimental subject. Hearing about Sophie's history, Blade becomes very angry. King tries to pacify his anger by explaining that he has completely destroyed the organization responsible for these experiments. King adds that when he informed Sophie that she was now free, she questioned if he was commanding her. King realized that Sophie couldn't survive on her own in the world, so he brought her to this school. Blade is filled with mixed emotions, understanding Sophie's past and King's reasons for helping her. Blade, after hearing King's words about Sophie's past, feels responsible for her suffering and decides to give her a normal life. However, he realizes that he doesn't know what a normal life means. Seeking guidance, he goes to a doctor to understand the meaning of a normal life at his age. The doctor mentions that children his age usually enjoy their youth. Not fully comprehending what it means to enjoy youth, Blade turns to his friend Leonard for advice. Leonard tells him that people his age love to enjoy their youth. With this newfound understanding, Blade approaches his other friends and asks them how they express love. They mention going on dates as a way to show affection. Blade then seeks Ernest's input, and she blushes, thinking he's asking her out on a date. Ernest explains that people on dates usually roam around the city, shop in markets, and spend time talking alone. With this information in mind, Blade rushes to find Sophie and asks her out on a date, feeling that it's an essential experience. Sophie questions if he's commanding her, but Blade clarifies that he's not ordering her, but he believes it's something important. Finally, Sophie agrees to go on a date with him. Blade eagerly waits for Sophie to begin their date. Ernest with two girls sees Blade waiting for Sophie and feels jealous. The girls give Ernest something to eat, referring to her as Empress. but Ernest asks them to call her by her name instead and declares them as friends. Their mission now is to keep an eye on Blade to ensure he doesn't do anything strange to Sophie. As the clock strikes 10 o'clock, Sophie arrives, expressing her lack of knowledge about dates. Blade reassures her that he has made all the preparations and begins explaining the date plans. However, all three observers find the setup to be more of a special mission than a date. Blade and Sophie hold hands, and the three friends follow them closely. They start by eating ice cream on a bench in the park and then go for a walk on a bridge. Sophie wants to feed the fishes, but they accidentally throw all the food into the water at once, causing some trouble. Next, they visit an arcade and play games, with the three friends still following closely. Blade and Sophie punch a punching machine, breaking it, but they have to apologize for their actions. Later, they go to a restaurant to drink coconut water. Blade tells Sophie to wait since it's not according to their schedule, but she is thirsty and insists on drinking coconut water. As they drink together, Sophie asks him to come closer, and their cheeks accidentally touch, causing Blade to fall down. Blade's heart is pounding, and he feels a sense of panic when Sophie asks for his help on a mission to eliminate coconut water. Despite his unease, he continues drinking coconut water with Sophie as before, while Ernest and the two girls observe from the adjacent table. Blade remains focused on following their schedule. Even though he senses someone is following him, he decides to ignore it and keep going to reach their next target on time. Blade realizes they are running late, so he takes long jumps to expedite their journey. In the evening, they sit near a fountain and have a conversation. Sophie expresses that she had a good time with Blade that day and asks him why he is doing all this for her. Blade answers that he's doing it because she's his friend, indicating the importance of their bond. Blade listens intently as Sophie questions their friendship and emphasizes the importance of not hiding anything from each other. His panic intensifies, thinking that Sophie might have discovered his secret. However, to his surprise, Sophie reveals her own secret to him. Sophie confesses that she is not an ordinary person but a fake hero created in a lab, and her powers are not yet complete. She demonstrates her abilities, manipulating the lattice texture with her simulated powers. However, things go awry as the lattice goes out of control and lifts her up. She further shows Blade how she can stop time, but it takes a heavy toll on her body, limiting her usage to only 10 seconds. Sophie explains that she is an artificial human designed to mimic the powers of a great hero. Blade opens up to Sophie, confessing that he is the great hero, but he has lost his powers. Sophie is surprised to hear this revelation. Blade then asks if Sophie knew about her powers. She replies that she had no idea, but her powers felt somewhat familiar to his. Blade begins to apologize to Sophie and asks her to punish him. Confused, Sophie asks why he wants to be punished. Blade explains that he feels responsible for her cursed powers since he never wanted to be a great hero in the first place. He recounts how he fought demons from the age of 3, repeatedly defeating them but never truly saving everyone. This led to people taunting him when he couldn't save their loved ones. As a result, Blade believes his powers are cursed. It's a heartwarming moment as Sophie explains to Blade that he may not have chosen to be a great hero, but he still became one through his actions. She shares her journey of self-discovery after being rescued by King and how she encountered people saved by Blade, who praise and admire him. Blade becomes emotional hearing Sophie's supportive words, and she assures him that she is proud to have powers that mimic those of a great hero. Blade feels relieved knowing that people don't hate him and decides not to let his past haunt him anymore. Sophie promises to keep his great hero secret safe, strengthening their trust and friendship.